The body is a very complex matrix of systems which work individually and collectively. When you get sick and experience some symptoms, how does your doctor tell what is wrong, considering that the body is fully covered with the skin? By looking at the symptoms. The same symptom in one person can mean a different illness in another person. This is the dilemma that is facing health practitioners every day. The headache of diagnosis. In this show, we present you with a medical intuitive who transcends the barriers of diagnosis and treatment and make this look so easy. Watch the show and be amazed.
I am a medical intuitive. I use alternative techniques to diagnose and treat illnesses.
I think according to into yabo research yabo ayikho treatment for lead disease.
This is a God-given gift which is coupled with my training and acumen for physiology and anatomy. Over the years, I've successfully diagnosed and treated illnesses that have defied even the best of some of the medical practices. We all have our life purpose, and this one is mine. Welcome to the second part of sleeping disorder in this Dr. Alternative show. We had numerous questions that came from you viewers, and we appreciate them. We will cover those that we can because of the limited time. We might not touch on a number of them. But before we move forward to where we stopped, I just want for those people that missed our clip in the previous one to just have a look at this one. Please take a look.
If you look at the world, there are time differences and seasonal differences among various countries. One country's summer is another country's winter. Night here is day there, and so the list goes. Every country has got day and night, and the body responds to that clock and that structured pattern. There are subsequent sets of natural and rhythmic laws, routines, and activities, and every person is regulated by these. Even plants and animals fall into this rhythm. This is a big clock, which is a divine creation. Bodies have their own clocks drawn from this main one. This clock regulates your sleep and wake cycle in line with your location and environmental factors in your zone. This is circadian rhythm. To be able to get asleep and stay asleep, your circadian rhythm must be in balance of day and night. Once your lifestyle throws it out of alignment, a string of health and mental problems sets in. Insomnia is one of those. So, if you are sitting with a problem of insomnia, don't run to drugs or sleeping tablets. St. Mary's Clinic is here for you.
Welcome back. In our previous show on this topic, we left you with the promise that we're going to cover other causes of insomnia, which I've come across in my working with people in this field. So I will just remind viewers a little bit about the pineal calcification, because it's not a big one, it's not very common, but I've come across a few people with that, where the calcium deposits are dumped in the pineal gland, and the pineal gland being the one that produces melatonin, which is a sleeping hormone. And if you don't have a way of detecting that, you will eat drugs, sleeping drugs, until you cannot eat them anymore. Okay, and this one?
Okay, greetings to the viewers, and once again, it's good to be on the show. Thembi, can we continue from your last show? Remember, we were talking about the causes. From the alternative perspective, you seem to pick up quite a lot that seems to have been dormant in the health industry. So what other causes have you picked up which have been a big problem with sleeping?
You know, the one that's going to shock viewers. Okay, I've got a few that are not common. Okay, I do have quite a number of them that are common, but the few that I've selected are the ones that people don't know about. Okay, and one of those is Lyme disease. Lyme disease. Now, people that have got domestic animals, people that have got animals, be it dogs or cats, but particularly dogs and cows, cattle and sheep. But those animals that tend to have ticks, amakalane, those animals that tend to have ticks, they actually do cause a disease called Lyme disease. Okay. I've had a few people, and people look at me with open eyes like this when I detect that they actually have Lyme disease. And you find in some cases a person said, I don't even have a dog. But then you don't necessarily have to have it yourself, but maybe you've been in an area, because remember the tick, you may be visiting someone, or maybe you're sitting in a lawn, you're having a braai, and there are dogs there. And maybe there's a tick that has been crawling in that lawn, and you're not maybe even aware of it. And maybe just feel something, stinging you or biting you, and you just, just brush it off without even realizing that, because it's not like a sharp pain that when it does. But then, once you get a tick bite, okay, and it tends to move into your bloodstream, you will develop what we call Lyme disease. But Lyme disease tends to cause insomnia when it hits the brain. I remember I had a lady from Lesotho where the problems had nothing. She was blood pressure. I mean, she had, your common chronic kind of complaints. But then when I scanned her, I actually picked up that she had Lyme disease, and she had some tick offsprings, in her cranial area. So, and I was asking her, do you sometimes find as if something is tingling and you feel like your one side of your face or just the whole side feels like something is electrifying it a little, but very gently. And she said, yeah, I actually do experience that. But it's not something that I took seriously. But even though when it occurs, it's noticeable. Okay.
So are you saying there were ticks inside?
No, in the cranial, inside the brain, not on the neck. They had traveled into the cranial area there. So she had Lyme disease, but it was hitting the brain. Okay. So now you'll find, and there are serious problems that occur because of Lyme disease once it hits the brain. Okay. Even recently, I had a lady, although it was not in the brain, where I picked up that she had a Lyme, and she racked her brain trying to think where she could have, but then you find, it gotten that. But then you find other people that say, no, ndifuyile, ndinenkomo, ndinentondon, but who never realized that a tick bite could actually lead to Lyme disease. Okay, so I've had a few people with Lyme disease which has led to insomnia, okay, sleeping disorder, and some of them that you find they tend to have, even other people, like I was saying in our previous show, that if I were to go to to these mental institutions, I promise you, I would come up with shocking results, okay, to just diagnosing them. Because people with Lyme disease, that hits the brain, you'll find some of them, they hallucinate, you know. They will hear things, they will become delusional and all that, you know. So that's one of the things that I've found. Very few, though. It was not a lot of people that I picked up that had that. Pineal, the calcification, the cranial calcification, particularly cranial calcification, is the one that I've found quite common in the people that I've treated, okay. Pineal calcification also was not that common, but I've found a few people with pineal calcification. But the second one that I have picked up that links to insomnia is FTD. Now, frontotemporal dementia is what FTD stands for, frontotemporal dementia. It's a condition that actually causes some damage to brain cells. What we call atrophy. You know, it damages the brain cells. You know, tampers with the structure, but it tends to hit the frontal lobe and the temporal lobe. Okay, it will make. And whenever I pick up someone who's got FTD, you'll find that if maybe is a couple and it's the wife that has got FTD, I will ask the husband.
About?
Ask when you upset her,
Okay.
how angry does she become? Because people with FTD, you must not upset them.
Okay, what?
Because they go
word.
crazy. Okay, they become over angry. Okay,
I
yeah.
see.
I mean, one person. In fact, this one I was asking her because she came alone, and I asked, "When you're angry, what?" She said, ngajamba ngefastela imoto ihamba. While I see it run,
She's aware.
she's aware.
Of
She
the
said,
anger.
ngajamba ngefastela while imoto ihamba. She said she gets that angry. Okay, so FTD tempers a lot with the emotions because now remember, once it tempers with emotions, cortisol steps in.
Okay.
Okay, particularly when you're upset, because it doesn't really mess you up when you are not angry, but once something upsets you, which tempers with that chemistry, that cortisol balance. Okay, so because then it hits, then you get over angry. Okay, and then you just see red. Okay, so people with FTD, I remember once and people with FTD, just to digress a bit, you'll find they don't only have issues of what we call emotional unintelligence, okay, because they are what we call emotional intelligence, they're very low on that, but when it comes to something that upsets them, okay, so they really lose it. And once it's over, then they also wonder, why did I have to be so mad? I mean, they look at it at the same problem, they say, but there was no need for me to be this angry. But it's always aftermath. Okay, so that's what happens. Now, the other thing that happens is it affects their memory. Okay. People that you find in these mental institutions diagnosed with Alzheimer's where you totally lose, your memory, and you end up even not recognizing your own children or your own husband. That's now Alzheimer's. But people with Alzheimer's, people with FTD, that's another line that they go. That's the line route that you find they follow. It starts small, but then it leads to Alzheimer's. So you might find that a person has actually got FTD. So it's not necessary. It doesn't mean all people that have got Alzheimer's are because of FTD.
Okay.
But people that have got FTD, because it does affect the memory, you will find they will also
Develop Alzheimer's.
develop Alzheimer's, or their memory deteriorates to such an extent, even if it's not maybe classified as Alzheimer's. Okay, so it does that. It affects the language, and you might find a person. I mean, I had one, and he made me laugh so much. It was a gentleman. It was asking about the memory. I mean, the language. He said he was a preacher, and he said he has stopped preaching. And I'm asking, but why did you stop? He said, because once I start preaching, because when they talk, they talk roundabout. They have got lots of words and vocabulary. Instead of getting to the point, they will go that way. Meanwhile, they're coming here. So he was saying, and remember, when people are preaching, they are given a theme.
Okay.
So he said he would even forget what was the theme.
Why?
Because of the
FTD.
problem of the FTD. He would be talking about, then he ends up, he says it's so embarrassing, because you're supposed to be talking, and then sometimes you see people, especially about mama. That's what he said. Mama. Then you pick up that you're totally off track. He made me laugh. He had a sense of, he made me laugh so much. But that's what happens with a problem of FTD. But now, so that is one other area of insomnia that you find. And also you must understand, once the person is too upset, you won't sleep. You won't sleep. Particularly if you get upset at night, it's going to make you really lose it. I remember once I saw a clip, a video clip. It was very disturbing, though. It was a very disturbing, and I could tell that this girl has got FTD. It was a Chinese family, and they were in the car, but in the game reserve. So in the game reserve, they don't allow you to even wind down the window.
Okay.
Not only did she wind down the window, but she opened the door and she got out of the
Who,
car.
the little girl now?
It was not a little girl. It must have been a 18, 19, 20, that kind of age.
Yeah.
And she now remember, in the game reserve, you're not driving through, you're driving slowly, because there are other cars behind you, there are cars in front of you. And I think they must have upset her inside the car. She opened the door, she got out of the car, but she didn't go away from the car, but she just got out of the car and she walked in front of the car, and they were screaming, because now they're afraid, what if something is gonna, and she was wearing a short dress, and the hands, she was holding the hands like this and angry and tiptoeing around the car, and then she went round the car. And they opened the doors because they wanted to come in. No, the first door, she walked past, and when she came to the second one, and I think she was gonna go around the car again. She did not realize there was a tiger.
Oh my goodness.
That was a very disturbing clip. And not smaller nyana tigers. Those big tigers. There was a tiger, and they were screaming, telling her to get in, because they could see the tiger. Now remember, she's looking at them and she's frantic, upset, and she can't see there's the tiger. And the tiger just came and just grabbed her. And the brothers came out, and you could see they wanted to chase after the tiger, but then realizing that they were themselves getting exposed, because there are other,
And that was it.
It went. It went with her. I mean, I saw the game rangers coming with those big trucks. But she, I mean, can you imagine? She's a tiny little thing. The tiger's this much. So it's just like picking up a baby. So it ran into the field. So what I'm getting at is that people with FTD get so irrational that they think, they act before they think. Because, I mean, I later learned that it killed her, but they came in time to at least protect the body from being ravaged. But it had already broken the neck, you know. So FTD is a condition, is an illness, something that I'm encouraging. I'm stressing here because I want parents or even people that you have in the family that you pick up these symptoms, you must actually bring them to us so that we can help to balance that brain chemistry. When we come back after the break, we talk more about causes for insomnia.
Are you sitting with an illness with no diagnosis and every doctor in town does not know what is wrong with you? Don't throw in a towel. There's hope for you. St. Mary's Alternative Clinic is a clinic with divine guidance that can do what doctors can't do. Make a booking and you won't be sorry.
Welcome back. I'm mapping out different scenarios and cases that I've dealt with, cases of bad sleep or sleeping, not sleeping, or waking up very early after sleeping. So those are the areas that we're looking at the moment. But there are other sleep disorders that I have dealt with, which are not necessarily insomnia, that is the inability to sleep. But today we're just covering that. So maybe later, depending on the interest and the request from your side, we will cover those other areas. Okay. But now coming back to the causes. Okay. The other cause that I have found is one that I touched on later about the brain frequency. Okay. I mean, there are people, I've got a person that I know who used to tell me, who actually asked me if I can help him, someone close who wanted me to help him, because he said ever since he was a child, he battled to fall asleep, deep sleep. He said he thinks maybe it's because of how he was brought up, because he was taught, to wake up very early. By the time he goes to school, he's already done all his chores, okay, in the rural areas. And as a result, he was a light sleeper. He said he can fall asleep, but when he falls asleep, it's very late, maybe midnight, 2 o'clock, and he'll sleep for 2 hours. Even those 2-3 hours that he's sleeping, he's a light sleeper. You can't even drop something. He's awake. He never gets into the deep sleep. And once he's awake, he won't sleep again. So that's so there are many people like that who you find they do fall asleep, but they fall asleep very late or maybe early hours of the morning, not because by choice, but they just cannot fall asleep. And even when they sleep, it's just maybe for 1 hour, 2 hours, and then they are awake and then they won't sleep again. So in most cases like that, you find that it's the brain frequency. Okay? It's not a deeper, serious problems, but they have got to do with the frequency. We do deal with that. So I've had quite a few people with such problems. Okay. The other problems are people that have got digestive problems. Okay, that one might also be a common one, but maybe people don't even put one and one together. People with digestive problems tend to have problems of sleeping. You will find that a person says, I get bloated and acid reflux. You find even if I'm sleeping, there's food regurgitation, food backing up, okay? Such that some people you find, they say, I cannot sleep flat, or I can't even sleep on my stomach, on my back, because I get choked. I don't know what happens. Food, it looks like food doesn't get digested. And other people sleep on their, while sitting. They put big pillows at the back because they just cannot fall asleep if they do otherwise. Otherwise, they always get choking, acid refluxes. So that's a digestive system problem, okay? But it tampers with your sleep, okay? Now we must remember the systems of the body have got a collective responsibility of making sure that that body operates well. So you'll find you will have digestive problems, but even that is linked to your rhythm, okay, to your circadian rhythm. And you'll also find that, and in one of the things that I may advise the viewers is make sure that you eat within 10 hours. Just work out 10 hours of your eating time. Okay. If, say, for instance, you start eating at 7, your supper, your last meal must be at least be around 6 o'clock. You can count 10 hours, say 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your last meal must actually be at 5. If you eat at 8, your last meal must be at 6 o'clock. But even if you eat at 9, don't let your meal be later, because you're already tempering or you're already falling into the sleeping zone, the sleeping time of the main master clock. Okay. So what I'm getting at is, even if 10 hours only applies to maybe for someone who eats at 7 or at 8, that your last meal must be at least 6 o'clock. Because you're giving your body a chance to digest that food. If food is not digested and absorbed, it's creating a mess, a cesspool for your digestive system, and that's where bloating comes in, gas and all that, and then your body is saying, I can't relax. It cannot relax when all that mess up is occurring. So there has to be a balance. And you must also understand that your digestive system, the brain stem, your medulla oblongata in your brain stem, regulates your stomach and your heart. And your heart is involved in making sure that you relax. As I indicated, that people with even thyroid, people that have got thyroid is big, is a metabolic gland, you know. It makes sure that it breaks down food, turns it into energy. So it's part of your digestive and even sleeping program. So when there are issues with it, and then it affects the heart, and then the heart affects a whole range of things, the cardiovascular system and the brain is, because remember the stroke is the brain, but then the heart is involved there, or your liver. So all these systems, you find each one has got a piece in contributing. It's got its part to play and that part to play, but they're all providing a service of the circadian rhythm. Okay. So what I'm getting at, therefore, is that try and eat within 10 hours. Don't eat outside 10 hours, so that your body has got enough time to digest that food, and you can go to sleep feeling at least lighter. Feeling lighter. Okay. Also, also the other thing that I would like to advise people that are gymming, that belong to gym or do some exercises, if you can, try to choose the morning gym rather than the evening gym. Okay. Because the morning gym, that's when your energy levels are at the peak, your cortisol is at its highest, your glucose, and everything is at its highest. Towards the end of the day. That's you're preparing for sleep. So you can't be creating that much activity and start and pumping that brain to work even more and so on and so. So that's a bad time of of exercising. Morning is is the best time to follow your gym as opposed to coming from work, gymming, and then eating and sleeping. I mean, that one is but I'll give other advices as we go along. Okay. One other cause that I've come across, and this one is quite common, is cranial pressure. Cranial pressure it doesn't matter if it's because of fluid, that is cranial edema, or you've got clotting, or you've got some lipomas, or you've got calcification. Anything that's causing pressure in your cranial area, at the back part of your neck, which forms part of your central nervous system, creates a lot of havoc. And one of those is it tampers with your reticular formation. Now, the reticular formation is that part of the brain stem which regulates consciousness. Okay, so it also works a lot with your master clock, because it regulates your sleep, wake up or get a sleep kind of cycle. So once you've got a compression in your cranial area, which will expand to your reticular formation, that also affects your sleep. Okay, irrespective of what is causing the pressure. Okay, but we are in a position to see: is it fluid? Is it clotting, congealed blood, or is it calcium, or is it lipomas, fat lipomas? So depending on what we deal with, whatever's causing it, but then we deal with the pressure itself. Okay, so reticular formation has also been one of those areas that temper with insomnia.
Just out of curiosity, Thembi, I see you mention here that light sleepers, that part kind of interested me. Why? Because I've had people who say something like, I had a very good sleep last night, or I went into a deep sleep last night, or I had a very restful. So I don't know if there are levels of sleeping.
Yeah.
And how does one actually get to the proper restful level? Because I mean the different levels obviously have causes to that, right? Okay.
Actually, let's go for a quick break, and then I get into this one. Okay. Life and death are created and controlled by God, so is nature. Nature, therefore, provides all the healing properties necessary to service mankind. Even scientists are students of nature. In the chaos of coronavirus pandemic, nature has provided us with mystical rose oil. This oil is a combination of specially selected and blended essential oils like clove, eucalyptus, rosemary, and many more. The special selection and the skillful blending process gives a finished product of remarkable protection from coronavirus. You have tried everything to protect yourself, right? It's time you try mystical rose oil, the miraculous gift of nature. Welcome back. We're talking now on whether there are different levels of sleep and how does that happen. Okay, there are different levels of sleep. Like I mentioned in the previous show, when I spoke about the brain waves. Okay, that's the brain frequency, the frequency at which the brain operates. Okay. We've got theta waves, we've got delta waves, we've got alpha waves, we've got beta waves. Okay, now those regulate the wake or sleep kind of frequency. For instance, let me talk beta waves. Now, beta waves are the ones that cause a lot of inability to sleep, because if the brain is always hyper and is active and alert all the time, those children that you find are even said to having ADHD, attention hyperactive deficiency disorder, or just the ADD, just the attention span being a problem, you will find that their beta waves are flustering. They are really running too high. Okay, you can never sleep. You can never rest. You may be sitting, even in cases where you find a person has been given sleeping tablets. If the beta waves are not tamed, you will not rest, even with
in that case
the sleeping tablets, which is what I get a lot of people that say, I'm on sleeping tablets, but they're not helping me. So they've changed me onto something, and they're even worried because of the side effects. But what can they do? Because I can't sleep. But even with that, I can't sleep. So if your beta waves are running crazy, you will never sleep, even if you want. Let alone the pineal calcification that I was talking about. So just the frequency alone. Okay, so we do have protocols that work with the frequency, because I'm in a position to detect which frequency has got a problem. Okay, we do have those that will suppress the beta waves and make you.
So you can fix the imbalance irrespective of whether a person can sleep.
Yes.
You can help them sleep the proper way.
Yes.
And those who can't, you can fix that.
Yes.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I'm in a position to detect what is the cause in your case. Is it just the frequency? Then we've got ways of regulating frequency. We've got protocols for that. Regulate. And even at that, it doesn't mean it's easy, because you need to know which frequency is tampered with. You can't give a beta suppressor to someone who's already on delta wise, because then you are really making them zombies. So even though what we give is not drugs, but the effect will still be there. So you need to know which frequency is tampered with, and even there you must be able to know how much, because you can only do, like I said the other day, client who had a problem of a child that was diagnosed as being autistic. Okay, like those disorders. So, and the child, and then so we gave her some medication because I had picked up what was wrong with the child, which was not related to the brain frequency, but which was related to the condition that he had, because he had a CDG and eye cell inclusion. Okay, so I was treating that, and then she calls and she says, they are saying he's very hyper. He's running around at school and please give him something for ADHD. Because that's what happens. Children that are hyperactive, they are on Ritalin, on the drug that tames them. Or, if you go to these schools, it's just Ritalin. So she wanted, but now she did not want, she's a very caring parent who was watching her child steps all the way. Okay. And she said, can you give her something that's going to tame him? In fact, she actually specified, can you give him something that's going to, because now I believe he's got ADHD. And I said, no. In his case, it was not ADHD, it was the beta waves, The beta waves were like jumping. So we had to give him something that's going to balance the frequency. Okay. And that is working very well. She contacted the other day and saying the child is doing very well, Okay. So what I'm getting at therefore is I'm in a position to tell when it is just the frequency and when it is other causes, but not tampering with the frequency. The frequency still, you just need to remove the menace. That's, but the frequency itself. But now coming back to your question about the deep sleep. Okay. there are levels of sleep. And these brain waves, they regulate that. Like I mentioned that the theta waves, they will those are sleeping waves. Okay, that's the sleeping frequency. Okay, but then that's the sleeping where you just a slight sleeper. You sleep, but you know if something comes through the door or you hear someone at door opening, then you are awake. Okay, but then there are delta waves. Sometimes I confuse them. There are delta waves. Now, delta waves, you go into a deep sleep. Okay. If you've heard of those situations where they say there are these robbers who will sprinkle a powder while people are sleeping.
To make
and
sure you
people
don't,
sleep like rocks, and they open and they take all the furniture. I had one and she said they even took him from his bed. they put him on the floor and they took the bed as well. And he was still sleeping. He was still sleeping. So, meaning he was at the delta wave frequency. Delta wave frequency, you like dead. You are a goner. Okay, so that's the one where you find when you wake up, you feel like, wow. And that one you will actually feel, when you sleep well and you get to that, you don't just feel rest. You don't just feel like you've had a good sleep. But even inside your body, you just cannot explain how well but you feel it inside. It's not just a brain relaxing thing, it's the whole body kind of relaxation. So that is the deep sleep one that you're referring to. Yes, there is, and there are protocols to balance those frequencies. But coming back to what I was saying earlier, that I really want to help in the production of those musical videos for different brain frequencies, which you can just put, and you'll be surprised that if it is the frequency that has got a problem, and we give you the music for that frequency, you will listen to it, and you will just wonder, why is it soothing you so much? Okay. Whereas, if it is not, it will irritate you. But for that, if it is your frequency that needs balancing and you get that particular video, you will just resonate with that. You won't wonder, you won't wonder why you love it so much, because you will just love it so much. So, which is also because even the music alone, let alone the music that's created for focusing on frequencies, but just the music alone, that is why you will find a person will be excited by a certain type of music while the others saying, oh, I can't stand this. Okay, because you're operating at that frequency. So you want maybe that type of music because your brain frequency needs that kind of balancing. So we've got that. But the videos we don't have yet. But that's something that I was thinking, particularly for children, especially those school-going ones, who've got, so that you can just put the headphones on it, or maybe not put the headphones, just play it softly just before this, and then all of a sudden then you'll see them, falling into sleep, because it's the lullaby that is appropriate for their frequency. Okay, so that is the other one that I've picked up. But one more thing that I want to connect to sleeping is people that have got, the problem of kidneys. I cannot stress how the connection is between your renal system, your kidney system, and your cardiovascular system, and your central nervous system. So these systems work so much hand in hand. Sorry, it just fries the brain. That you'll find, that is why I keep stressing. I cannot stress more the importance of treating each individual or each patient as an individual. if medicine, conventional medicine, were to re-look into the way, into their manner of operation, and if they were to re-look and rewrite their curriculum, I'm sure a lot of things, and when I say rewrite, I'm not talking about all fields, because surgery, for that matter, let me not even get into that. I'm not but just the
importance of that.
If they were to relook, because you cannot separate the body. The body is so intertwined, is wired like a bomb. If you know, when you watch those movies and they say you need to cut this and it's called kaboom. The body will go kaboom if you think you will tamper with those wires, because that's how it's naturally made. That's how it's naturally made. So you can't, even if you study one system, you can study one system to the core, but study it in relation to other systems, and see, because you cannot think you're going to take it and say, I'm going to deal with it as a system. Just like I was saying, that you can't think you're going to create your own circadian rhythm, create your own clock outside the big clock, the global clock, and outside the divine clock, because really the main clock is the divine clock. So you can't think you will create your own. You're going to go crazy, you're going to go mad, because that's it. That's how it's made. So that's, I just wanted to touch on this, because people that have got blood pressure are the people that are affected the most by these cortisols and the stresses, and the diabetes affected the most by these cortisols and everything, because those things tamper with the circadian, with their rhythm.
Okay, so can we talk solutions now, Thembi? How you work with the people, how you treat this, the phases, etc., etc.
All right. When we come back after the break, I will get to that.
Are you sitting with an illness with no diagnosis, and every doctor in town does not know what is wrong with you? Don't throw in a towel. There's hope for you. St. Mary's Alternative Clinic is a clinic with divine guidance that can do what doctors can't do. Make a booking and you won't be sorry.
Welcome back. We now wrapping up. We're looking at solutions. But maybe before we go to solutions, we just took one question from the viewers. As we promised that after every show we would look at questions from you. But because of the size of this topic, we couldn't give this show entirely to the questions. But we've just taken one question, then I go to solutions. Okay.
So here you have a client who says they have a 4-year-old child who has been expelled from school due to being hyperactive, and he also does not seem to sleep at night. So how can you help this little boy?
Okay. Actually, if you look at this, firstly, children that my assumption is that it means maybe he's not even responding to the Ritalin, because you find that children that are hyperactive, they are taking either, the drug. I don't need to mention those drugs. They're taking those drugs. But then you'll find that maybe there are parents who, because of the side effects of the drugs, refuse to have them taking those drugs. And then you find a child will not be kept at the school because it's disrupt, and well, justifiably, because it's disrupting other children. They cannot concentrate at all, and they're disturbing other children. Okay, but now coming to whether we can help him, we can. Firstly, because we will be able to see what is the situation in his case. Okay, is it frequency? Is it a genetic problem? Is it, because this is the other thing that I've found quite common in children that have got ADD or ADHD. They may not necessarily have any of these genetic problems, but then the problem you find that they're just gluten intolerant or gluten and lactose intolerant. So they cannot break down that sugar. And once they eat bread, because bread, there's sugar, it gets converted into sugar. So even milk products, they get converted into sugar. So both these are sugars. Then you find that they cannot break down that sugar. So the hyperactivity, the body is saying, work, run, because remember glucose, sugar is energy, gives us energy. Hence I was talking even in the case of cortisol, that once cortisol levels are elevated or for whatever reason, stress or whatever, it increases the glucose in your blood. Okay, but now these kids, you find they have got, maybe some of them are diabetic and they are not even known to be diabetic, or others are not necessarily diabetic, and you find some of them might be seen as being stressed, but you might not even realize that the child is stressed. And when he's stressed, he releases the increase of glucose in the blood is there, and then they're energetic. They have to do something because the body is saying, burn that sugar. Burn that sugar. It won't relax until you've burned that sugar. So you find sometimes the hyperactivity is not linked to the brain frequency, but is linked to the inability to break down that sugar, okay, because of maybe gluten intolerance or lactose intolerance. So even in this case, I can't tell what the situation. I'll be able to only know once I've met the parents to see, was he referred to a psychologist, or is he taking a drug, ADD or ADHD drug, or what's the situation? But then I'll be able to pick up on my own what is happening. Okay, so let parents bring their children. But now coming to the solutions, we've got a range of things that I can suggest, but maybe also starting here because of time, I will say firstly, try and restore or correct your circadian rhythm. Okay, I spoke about it in the previous show. That is your clock that regulates your sleep, your eating, your activity and all that, so that you sleep during the night, you are awake during the day. Try and create a program where you will say, I am deciding according to my lifestyle or responsibilities, I can sleep maybe at 10. Okay, but then take that 10 o'clock as your standard time and try and keep that as a routine. Don't let TV take over your life and decide when, and you find you just cannot make it if you haven't watched a particular soap. Decide which soap is, and then if you want a healthy, because that's remember why you're doing this. The objective is you're restoring your health. You're working on your rhythm now. So instead of saying, because anlali gagati, so I might as well, I watch TV up until 12, up until 1, because I can't. You cannot, you actually make perpetuating the problem. So decide this is the time that you're going to keep trying to sleep. And once you've done that, switch off the lights. You can never sleep while the lights are on. If you need light, buy candles, because the candle, the nature of the candle and the intensity of the candle is very low and very gentle. So it has got an effect on you. So if you battle to sleep, I'm giving you tips now of starting to restore your circadian rhythm. So switch off the lights and go back to the traditional way of lighting. And also try and eat, like I said earlier. Don't eat till too late. Decide, my supper, I don't eat after 6. Okay. Even if you end up being hungry, if you've missed 6, try and train your body into that routine. Of course, it's not going to be easy. And you mustn't say if you've missed 6 and you say, I'm not a prisoner in my own house, and then you end up breaking that, because you're never going to get it right. You need to discipline yourself and say, after 6, I'm not eating. So if food is not, you haven't had your meal, and even the people that are preparing food, they must know that if after 6 food is not ready, then you're not going to eat. Okay, so that you help everybody to go into that, because it can only bring you good results. You can never find bad results from that routine. So eat within 10 hours, and you will even lose weight without trying anything. Okay, just by doing that, because your body gets a chance to digest food properly, and your digestive system is going to be happy. You sleep better, your skin will look better. You know when they say your sleep beauty, you know, all that is incorporated into that. If you look at all the, the lifestyle of the secular world is messing us and our health big time, big time. So what I'm getting at, even this morning, just to digress a bit, I went to the mall and I was boom, boom, and I'm asking, is it because people that play these big speakers, and it's people that, preaching, these pastors, and the lady at the shop said, no, I'm not going to mention the name of this big gym company. And I'm like, if it is this noisy in this shop, which is far from, how are these people inside there managing? But can you see that there? They're excited. They don't realize that one of these days they will be coming to say, my ears, I can't hear. So what I'm getting at, therefore, is that if you start just with those things, you will be surprised at how everything falls into place. Yeah. But beyond that, you come to us, we'll be able to detect what is wrong, what's causing you not to sleep, and we'll give you appropriate protocols for that. We'll even give you the program. On a one-on-one, I can help people to sort of restore their circadian rhythm and all that. So we do have answers. All these areas that I'm touching, people that we have dealt with, we do have answers, and we can help you to reverse that, so that you can sleep like a baby. We end there in our episode today, and thank you for watching, and thank you for those questions. Maybe if we've got time, we might cover some of the questions that we did not get to, that we had selected, but which we did not get to answer today. Next week, though, I've had a request of people asking us to cover thyroid as a topic, thyroid problems as a topic. Thank you for watching, and thank you for suggesting these topics, because then it helps us give you the answers and questions. Of course, the answers in questions that you have around topics that are relevant to you. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.